And look, thank you for coming in today. And I know I've listened to you in the AV room before this as well. And I think what you've done is really enlightening. And anything we can do to broaden the conversation around constitutional change and the future of this country is really important. And it's really important to include as many different voices and perspectives as possible. And I know you've opened the door to doing that, and so have some other initiatives that you refer to, because it can be hard to reach certain elements of the community, especially women. And I know you've said there that there's a fear in the community from those that are maybe a little bit louder about expressing their true opinions, and I suppose it's try to best overcome that, because I'm sure it's still very difficult for many to speak out. And do you feel it's becoming any way easier as a result of your book and other initiatives for people to come forward and express their opinions? And also you identified that people have a fear around Irish unity. Is that fear just based on somebody feeling that my nationality identifies British, so I want to maintain the union, but haven't actually looked at the issues that affect us all? Like, there's a lot more unite the people on the ground than divide us. So, I mean, things like healthcare and childcare and cost of living and housing and so on. All the ordinary issues affect us all the same. So we need to get the conversations around those issues. So is the fear, like, what exactly is the fear that people have about discussing the future of Ireland? Is it just the fear from being ostracised in their community for even discussing it, or is there a fear about some other elements?
Calling for your question, there's a lot of elements to that. It's a really, really important question. What is the fear? I think for the people who are already quite persuaded about the merits of reunification, the fear is being your safety that would be threatened for everybody who participates in the Ireland's future, the Protestants. There's that conversation around the kitchen table about whether you're prepared to relocate, whether people are going to find where your children go to school, is it safe? And when I express that fear, it's from members of my own community. But beyond that, the already convinced, there are wider fears in the Protestant community. A friend expressed it to me like he felt the guy ropes had been kicked away. Everything that he had loved about British culture was crumbling, and he could see that after Brexit. He could see that Britain was changing, but he couldn't define the hope and the offer, or the vision that would replace it yet. So I think in the absence of an offer, and I don't mean that has to be pinned down now, but in the absence of hope and vision that is maybe occurring at the moment because of concrete unity planning or the specifics, I think what then fills the vacuum is the hurt of the past and the post-conflict issues. And we talk about flags because I think we should be talking about healthcare. I do really think that's what people want to be talking about. But then, yes, the hurts of the past then come in, and there's time to dwell on them in the absence of something to be very excited about instead, The fear in private conversations, I would say, is vastly diminished. I would have had people and the political nerd in the family call me maybe an election or two ago extremely afraid that Sinn Féin would be the first minister, because this is how a lot of election campaigns have been run. And these same people have rung after recent elections, couldn't think saying Mary Lou seems great. And somebody who's known to me even used a couple of words of Irish for the first time, and said, I just feel so much less afraid. So I think that context is really changing. Those fears are diminishing, but that's happening in private, and people aren't ready maybe to bring that kind of conversation into the light. Has my book eased people's fears? It certainly eased my fear. I've spent, I guess, my entire adult life quite afraid to speak. I wanted to call the book Do Not Fear to Speak, almost as an encouragement to my own self. But I think finding 20 people to walk beside. All of us had felt alone, that we were the only radical in the village, and we realised this is actually just a history that hasn't really been erased in a Machiavellian way, maybe partly, but we've almost erased it within our own selves because of our own fears. So finding that community to walk beside, and I think that has impacted, the book has impacted a lot of Protestants, and that's kind of self-recognition. I'm not alone. Their question to me then after reading the book is, what do we do now? What do we join? What do we... And I don't have a really good answer for them on that yet. Do something local in your community, do something positive, do things that make you feel uncomfortable. That's as far as I've got. But I look forward to the day when I can say, here's a really viable, exciting, positive reunification movement, and you could look at that.
So I'm just wondering, is there something more than that government, political parties, even this committee could be doing to encourage conversations and try to allay the fears, as you say? I mean, it could be with some people, as you say, they've lost maybe their identity, or they feel they're losing it because of Brexit. So is there something to do to assure them that they haven't, that their identity within a new Ireland would be secure and respected? So I presume there's more that should be done, or could be done, by politicians as well.
Yeah, I think it's hard to reassure people that their sense of identity won't be affected because, I mean, what is a unionist after reunification? And I think it's honest to take that on board. But certainly looking at a Bill of Rights around that would include things that Protestants might be interested in. And when you talk to people, it might not be things that have been thought about yet. It might be things like religious freedom, which seems so inbuilt and like obvious, but articulating that might be incredibly helpful. But I don't think that people will be able to put a trust in a wider hypothetical process that they hear on the media. I do think it will be the groundwork of face-to-face conversations, and I think that does include time and resources, especially if you don't want to hear from only the hardcore, most committed. And I assure you that they will be mostly men because they will have the time to do that.
Yeah.